Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the GCNC Worldview. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Chris Day, your host for this journey around the world and look at cannabis markets, domestic and abroad. We've got a great guest today. I'm excited to introduce everyone to, but before we jump into that, first, I want to remind you, if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe to the Worldview podcast, put a review out there as long as you like it. If you don't like it, skip that part. And check out the upcoming events that we've got. We're recording this actually just before MJ BizCon, but by the time it comes out, we will have all been in recovery mode for that for about a week and starting to look at what's coming down the pike in 2024. And the GCNC's got some great new things coming up. We're looking at events in Spain, and we've got some things happening in Berlin. And I'm just going to tease a little bit. We're looking at some amazing opportunities in the country of Peru. We're going to be launching our first GCNC trade mission there in April of 2024. So stay tuned for all of that. And now joining us today is Diane Downey. CEO of Rebel Spirit in Oregon, in the United States. Diane, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. I've been a fan of Rebel Spirit for several years now, since I first ran into you guys at a trade show. I'm trying to remember which one it was now. I think it was, may have been MJ Unpacked in Las Vegas, actually, where I first came across the brand. But you guys have been doing spectacularly well in a highly competitive market. And I wanted to, give you a chance first just to talk a little bit about you and how you got into this crazy industry and some of the origin of Rebel Spirit, because I think it's a great story.
Okay, wow, I'll try to make it as short as possible because it's kind of a long story. So just on the part, Chris Beckler, my husband, and I are co-owners of the business, and we've got other friends and family who are owners as well. But let's see, in 2015, when cannabis became legal in Oregon, Chris was kind of unhappy with the work he was doing. He was a general contractor and was looking for something different. And that's about the time that Oregon voters said, well, let's make recreational marijuana legal in Oregon. And so, of course, we talked about that. And I said, well, yeah, let's just get into that. And you can do that. Then, and I didn't really even know how much I would be involved. And so we mortgaged our house. We bought a little 19-acre farm that's about 20 minutes from our home. And Chris with there was nothing there, just beautiful soil and flat field. And Chris with his contracting skills built out our physical plant, which was an amazing feat in and of itself. By 2016, we were one of the first companies in Oregon to get our recreational license. We had launched the brand medically in 2015. We decided to name our farm Uncle Mark's Farm. And that is, Uncle Mark is a friend of our family who died in prison after being caught. He died in federal prison. He was caught growing marijuana in Northeast Washington in the 1990s. And it was a super rough thing for our family and our friends. And so we decided to name the farm after Mark, just as a tribute to him. And then when we came to market, we decided that Rebel Spirit was a great name for the company because Mark at heart was a rebel, and he's the spirit behind our farm. And we're super excited now, going on 9 years later, to be rehabilitating the end of his story, giving him a happier ending and continuing to pay tribute to him, which we also do by sharing profits with the Last Prisoner Project.
Nice. I always talk to people in all the work that we do around collaborative efforts and doing well by doing good, and making sure that, you know, each of us takes on that responsibility, I think, that we all have in the industry to certainly build successful businesses, but also pay tribute to those who came before, and help to make sure that we build a solid and ethical industry moving forward. So that is another thing that I've always appreciated, Diane, about you and Rebel Spirit as well. You know, looking at the industry, though, in Oregon in particular, when I talk to most folks in the Pacific Northwest of the United States, I hear stories about how it's impossible to do well there, and yet Rebel Spirit is doing well. What makes you different? Like, how is it that Rebel Spirit is really continuing to be able to dominate the market in some ways with your products?
Honestly, I think it comes down to integrity. We are live soil, all organic, all the time. We will really only put our best products out there to market. It also comes down to tenacity. We're really hard workers. Chris has worked really hard to, and with our growers, to grow out amazing proprietary strains that we keep to ourselves. And so our customers know they can only get these strains, such as Frosty Jesus, with Rebel Spirit, in Rebel Spirit products. The other thing comes down to when we started selling pre-rolls and really came to the top of the market with our pre-rolls, had to do with the quality of manufacturing. So we're always on the up and up with all of our business dealings. People know that they can trust us, and that reputation, along with the quality of the product, has really contributed to our success. I can't say enough, though, about our team. They are just amazing. We can't even begin to pay them enough, which feels pretty icky sometimes, but it's but we've got to keep, you know, floating the boat. And so whereas we're surviving in Oregon, everybody on our team is making sacrifices to make that happen.
Yeah, so that element is a fairly common thing in cannabis, and those operators who have the respect of their entire team can oftentimes find ways to navigate it, where those operators who are less inclined to be supportive of those that work with them and for them tend to fall by the wayside, but obviously not sustainable forever, right? So as you're looking towards expansion and other markets to help grow the business and be able to fuel success for everyone, what's some of the calculus that's going into that, and where are you looking?
Well, our plan for surviving and thriving is two-pronged. One is keep our place in Oregon, keep doing well in Oregon, keep our heads above water, work on remaining profitable, however slim that profit margin is. At the same time that we expand out into the rest of the nation and internationally. And so we have to be asset light as we go out into the world, because we don't have capital to spare at all. And we've been fairly successful so far in getting brand licensing agreements with other states. And as you know, coming on board next week is Peru. Yep. So we recently, so that's how we're doing it. And so even though those brand licensing deals in other states, each individually is not going to net us a lot of money, we're just beginning. And as we nurture those companies and help them with our standard operating procedures, they also have a right to our proprietary genetics. So they have all of our 9 years of expertise. They have all of our 9 years of breeding, and they have all of our support. So especially for nascent companies, they can really get a lot out of that partnership. And so as each state that we sign with is pretty exciting, because it's starting over again and having the ability to do things right from the beginning, rather than making the mistakes that we made here in Oregon.
Yeah, I'm gonna obviously jump into that Peru discussion here in a minute, but before, because we're always interested in how decisions are being made around global expansion. But before I do that, I want to touch on the innovation piece that you talked about with your genetics. A lot of people talk about innovation in genetics, not always successfully. A lot of times it's just, talk and then repackaging a name or changing that up. But what led you guys down the path of actually trying to create and deploy into market unique genetic strains, and has that really differentiated you, or does it feel more problematic toward it as you look towards scalability?
I'd say it's the opposite of problematic. I see it as a real asset, and honestly, we wouldn't have gotten into it if it weren't for some of our friends from California who we consulted with in the very beginning, who acquainted us with the idea of breeding. Chris, my partner, is kind of an engineer at heart and is an enthusiastic organic grower. And so he took his pheno hunting very seriously. I think that the general public, and even a lot of people in the industry, don't really understand the effort that goes into pheno hunting and breeding, and that it takes a couple of years to find a new strain and to bring it to market. We got seeds from the Netherlands and Canada and various places. We grow them out. We cull all but the best plant. Then it goes into a test plot, and it's tested for hardiness in our climate. It's tested for the terpenes, THC, and the quantity. Is it going to produce enough to make it worth growing? And that test plot will test that out, and before we grow it at scale. Yep. And so there's a lot of work and a lot of time that goes into creating a strain that is going to be worth growing. As far as we've been super fortunate in that we've won lots of Oregon Growers Cups, which is validating. Mm-hmm. And then it's also been important too to our fan base here in Oregon that they can get these strains such as Frosty Jesus or Rebel Berry OG, and the list goes on, only from Rebel Spirit. I know that it's a different business plan to create new strains and sell those strains, but we're not really, that's not what we decided to do. We decided to reserve those strains for ourselves and our licensees.
Yep. Well, I like it. And I mean, it's certainly working. It's certainly working for you in terms of differentiating the brand. So it's good. And you are right. Very few people understand the amount of work that goes into that. The number of phone calls I get as new markets come on, sort of looking for unique or new or innovative, explaining to them sort of the life cycle of what that business model looks for, even, after you've invested all the time in getting facilities up and running. It's a lesson in dedication for sure. Yeah. To get it done. Yeah. Let's talk about this new push into South America. I am certainly excited about it myself. I mean, for those listening in, the partner that you're working with is a good friend of mine and a GCNC member as well. I'll let you sort of divulge who that is if you want or not. But when you're looking at the international landscape, what was it that said, yeah, we should pull this trigger and give it a shot? And what's the hope for the partnership?
Big hopes for the partnership, and just hats off to you, Chris. Thank you so much, and to GCNC because without GCNC, we would not have met Futura Farms of Peru and Jose and Raul, who are our partners there. And honestly, one of the things that I think that it takes to get going internationally is to have organizations such as GCNC through which we can meet credible players, so players who have been vetted. And so I remember when we first started talks with Futura Farms, I emailed you and I said, Chris, are these guys legit? Can we trust them? And you said, absolutely. And then that was enough for me. I think that there should be a good deal of trepidation when it comes into jumping into business with anybody, but especially someone from another country with different laws, different customs. And so we feel as if with Raul and Jose, we've had so many conversations with them, and it's a perfect fit for us. Peru is such an interesting market, and it presents an amazing opportunity. We're excited, and Futura Farms is excited that Rebel Spirit is going to be the first American brand in Peru. I know that Raul and Jose are also looking to Mexico and bringing us to Mexico with them. So this is bigger than Peru. This is Latin America for Rebel Spirit. And we're seeing them in Las Vegas. We're going to see them at the GCNC event in Las Vegas. And we're going to shop for packaging together for Peru in Las Vegas. And it's just really exciting.
I'm happy for you now that this comes out a little bit after the event, because otherwise every packaging company on the show floor would be hitting you up in the next 10 minutes after it hit the social media sites. But I am sure you will find many good options at the show. And it's interesting. I'm gonna spin off just a little bit to talk about the Peruvian market opportunity itself, because you're right, Peru is an interesting framework that I think gives companies a way to launch products and brands and ideas into South America, and then as opportunities arise in other places like Colombia, Brazil, Ecuador, Uruguay, Peru creates a really nice base of operations in a fairly friendly structure. I mean, still a medicinal market, still very much structured and lots of laws around it, but it's flexible enough that partners like Futura Farms have been able to create great relationships with the government there and create opportunities. So it's actually why we're launching the trade mission next year, and we have governmental support. I mean, we've got folks from the Senate coming to talk to people about what are the opportunities in Peru, which is something I'm really excited about, because generally speaking, the political types don't always show up,
Yeah, for sure.
So, and we'll see, spending a lot of time, Diane, in Mexico. I am hopeful that one day I'll be able to walk into a shop or pharmacy, whatever model they get their act together on, and can find Rebel Spirit in the future. That'll be great.
Me too.
So when we're looking at sort of what happens over the next year and a half or so for Rebel Spirit, and you're looking at markets intently, whether domestic or abroad, where are you seeing the most opportunity right now? What do you think sort of the next wave brings us?
Do you mean for the industry in general or for Rebel Spirit?
A little bit of both, but mostly for Rebel Spirit.
Okay. Well, I think that, it's, first of all, it's really difficult to speak for the industry in general, because this industry has so many surprises that we've had to learn to kind of keep our heads down and do what we can. So we can't wait for federal this or federal that, or for 280E to go away, or for any of these things. We just have to do the best we can with what we've got going on, as if it's never going to change. So that's where we are, but yet always hopeful and always advocating for change. When it comes to Rebel Spirit, I really think that our focus is on just what I said before. 12 months is not much time, and so we're going to be focusing on providing for the success of our brand licensing partners outside of Oregon, and to keep growing within Oregon. We're adding a processor's license in Oregon to be able to produce our own infused pre-rolls and edibles more economically. We've been having those done by a processor, and so we're hoping to be able to do that more economically ourselves. So continuing to grow in Oregon. I should say that also this is Rebel Spirit, but it's a different company because it's not THC, but we're launching Rebel Spirit hemp pre-rolls as well, under the auspices of a different company, and generally targeting those states that don't have legal recreational cannabis, to try to acquaint consumers in those states with the brand.
So Texas, here you come.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. I keep hoping there will be fewer of those states in the near future, but there's certainly some big ones that are worth getting brand awareness into, for sure. Good. Okay. So I appreciate the view and the commentary, and I'm looking forward to seeing the growth of the brand across the country, and certainly we'll be talking more in the coming months about the Peru move. Hopefully you can join us down there in April.
Yeah,
and we can see what happens throughout Latin America with some of these types of projects. But Diane, I want to thank you for joining us on GCNC Worldview. It's great to have you here, and let's touch base again in 5 or 6 months on the show and see how things have progressed. I think it'd be great to get an update on sort of what the hurdles have been, are, and how things are moving. It's always good to follow up on those stories. So thanks so much, Diane, and thanks to everybody for listening in. And make sure, again, subscribe, hit that little button so that we don't have to keep saying that over and over. But thanks, everyone. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you. Bye.